Hey everybody, welcome into episode 24 of my YouTube journey. Tonight I'm going to show some pickups I've had over the last 6 weeks or so. Some of them are major. Like one, if you're friends with me on Instagram, you've already seen it. If not, I can't wait for you to see it. It's going to be the last one I show, so hang on for that. I've got a couple of bangers, but I've also got some that are just as important to me. And those are cards that a couple of good buddies gave me. I'll talk about those here in just a minute. A couple of them are from some YouTube buddies. Another one is from an Instagram friend. And the community that I have here collecting, it just really enriches my life. I didn't have this, a year ago. You know, I don't know how long my Instagram, but that's where I first started to have community. And then about 5 months ago when I started YouTube and made some friends in the YouTube world, and it's just so much fun. Talking to them on the phone, texting, sending them messages. It's just a lot of fun. So if you don't have community, I just urge you to get some. Come to Strongsville, come to the National, come to the YouTube get together. It may change your mind and maybe you'll want to do a video too, because it's well worth it. It's the whole reason I'm doing these is to share my love for the hobby, but also to have that community. So in speaking of community, next week, I'm going to be dropping a whole new series. Once a month, I'm going to be doing a collaboration with a good buddy of mine, again, community, a guy named Mike Petty. If you watch YouTube at all, you see him commenting a lot. He's on For Collectors. He's on different shows. He's usually a guest, and so he's going to be a mainstay on this one show once a month. I'm about to show you the trailer for that. And so here's the trailer right here.
In a place called Hobbytown, there are all manner of collectors. He's a cantankerous commenter who is decidedly fresh to the hobby.
What do you say there, liver lips?
And he's a country gentleman, getting by on good old-fashioned Southern charm.
But when I'm with my cards, I am carefree like a 12-year-old.
Can two vintage card collectors coexist in conversation without driving each other crazy?
The cracked ice house treasures kaboomies.
Kaboomy, one of one.
You got to get some Southern drawl in this YouTube community, man.
This is Hobby Talk with the odd couple, Tony the Southern Collector and Mike Petty.
All right, I'm looking so forward to that. I hope you are too. We're both so much the same, you know, of our love for collecting. But the reason we call it the odd couple is he's on the West Coast. He's West Coast cool. I'm Southern. I'm a little more, you know, Southern gentleman, like I said in the video. We have different ways of going about what we do, but in the end, we have the same love. It's going to be cool to get together and share our love of the hobby. So we're going to do different topics. We're going to advance it to having guests on. We're going to advance it to going live occasionally. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun for me to branch out and do some different things. That's kind of my goal for 2025. So I hope you join me in those. It's going to be a lot of fun. And let's get to looking at some cards. All right, I'm back. Thanks so much for hanging out and waiting on me. This first card is a really nice gift from a guy that I've gotten to be buddies with on Instagram. He goes by the name Trout Collector 5, and he sent me this in the mail. Got it today. It's just a beautiful card. I think at one point I might have told him I didn't know if I had any Mike Trout cards, and it broke his heart. He posts a different Trout card every day of the year. I think he told me he had like 2,500 Trout cards. That's all he collects. So he is definitely a super collector. He lives in Southern California and just loves the Angels and Mike Trout. But he wanted to make sure I understood why, because he knew how much I loved vintage. And he said this one was a copy of the Mickey Mantle 1963 Topps card, and it is. It's awesome. This is his 2012 Topps Heritage, and he said he had a 2011, but it was his minor league card. But it's really cool. He knew how much I love vintage. He loves modern. He said this combined both. He wanted me to have it, so they even copied the back. got this cool cartoon there of Mike Trout on the back, just like they have of Mantle. So it's really ingenious how they did this card. So yeah, I love it. So thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that. I know you watch my videos, so you'll see these side by side like you had asked. And so that's those. He also sent me these two. And these are cool. They're an artist card. They're custom made by a guy named Brad Davis. He says he does a lot of card art. I'm not familiar with him. I'm not sure. He may be the same guy I saw at the National that had that booth that was doing all the cool art stuff, but it kind of looked like this style a little bit, but they're numbered cards. He said he had gotten a Trout and Ohtani from this guy, and he saw these two and knew how much I loved the history of the Negro Leagues and the guys that were so brave, and like Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby, and so he wanted me to have these. So that was so kind and generous and thoughtful, and again, the community is something else when you get into this. Here's another community deal. I got this one right here from my buddy Orlando, Collector's Dream. If you're not watching him on YouTube, you need to check him out. He's one of the nicest dudes in the hobby, definitely one of the nicest guys on YouTube. And we met up in Boca Raton and went through a museum. I've got that video. I've been waiting to put it out. I'll do that soon. But showed up and just handed me this, told me he wanted me to have it, said that, you know, I was the new guy on the block and I was the strong man of YouTube. So he wanted me to have the strongest man. It's a 1888 Goodwin Champions card. It's so pretty. It's got the checklist on the back. It's so cool. This is my first turn of the century card, and it means so much to me, not only because it's a cool card, but also because it was a gift from a friend, and I'll cherish it. And we got another gift. This one is from my buddy Mookie Chilson. He knows how we share a love of Larry Doby. He just did. In fact, if you have not seen his latest video of Larry Doby, he talks about he got to meet him when he was in college and the things they talked about. And but this is the 1954 Dandy Potato Chips Larry Doby card. So he had this card on eBay trying to sell it. I'm not sure. I think he has doubles. And I put an offer in on it without knowing it was him. And he recognized that it must have been me that was trying to buy it. So he took it off of eBay and sent it to me. Now, how much better does it get than that? It's very thoughtful. And he could have sold it and made money. And instead, he wanted it to be in my collection. He knew I didn't have one in my Doby run. So I'm so fired up to have that, and we'll always cherish it. Thanks, Mookie. This was one that I've added recently to my Larry Doby signed run. As you know, I like his signed cards. I'm still after the 52 Bowman and the 52 Burke Ross signed, but I was able to add this Red Man. It's got the tab. It's an awesome card, and it's 1955. And this is a Pop 1. There is, as far as graded cards, there's maybe a raw one out there, but as far as graded, this is the only one in SGC or in PSA. So it's a very scarce, rare card, autographed, and I feel lucky to have it. It's in great shape. This goes back to when SGC was using James Spence to authenticate their autograph stuff, and so I'm glad to add that one. Also added this one. This is the one of the Perez Steel Hall of Fame cards, obviously. It's got his signature in a big blue bold Sharpie up there at the top, and good clean back. But I will add this to my Larry Doby run, and I've already done the Larry Doby video. Check it out if you haven't already. He's such a heroic figure in my mind, and I love collecting his stuff. And so that's the Perez Steel. And I added another card to my Larry Doby run. It's kind of an unusual one. It's a business card. He did a lot of things when he got out of baseball, but one of the things he did, he sold life insurance and things like that for John Hancock. And if you open it up inside, it's got Best Wishes Mike. He signed it to somebody named Mike, Larry Doby. And it's got his big league record. And if you've ever done business cards, you choose what goes on there. It's got Major League Financial Planning right here. But 13 years in the big leagues, lifetime batting average 286, home runs 263, 8 All-Star games, 3 World Series, and he hit the longest home run in Yankee Stadium. And he was the first Negro in the American League. So he would have decided what was on this. Unlike his baseball card that Topps or Bowman or whoever decided went on the back, Larry was proud of these things. So that is what he had put on his business card. So it's a really cool card. I'm happy to add it. It was glued in some sort of scrapbook. And so rather than mess it all up, they just cut it out. And so this is what I was able to buy. And sometimes these unique items to me are just as cool as a big time, PSA 7 something. So he held that in his hand at one point. It was even in his house or in his office. I've been working on the W514 strip cards with the 1919 Black Sox set. I needed this card and I needed this card. And I posted on Instagram that I needed those and did a really nice post about that set. And a friend of mine that wrote the book Relief, it's about the 1949 Leaf baseball set. He reached out to me and told me he had them. They were raw, so I'm going to get them slabbed up in a SGC. You can see this Eddie Collins is about got the corner ripped off of it. I want to get it slabbed up before that falls off. That's why I'm not taking it out of this plastic holder. Dickie Kerr right here. Both of these were clean socks. They did not participate in the throwing of the World Series that year, so they were good dudes. Going to stick those right there. Another team set I'm working on is the 1910 Red Sun cigarettes. This I'm trying to get all, if you'll notice at the bottom, Nashville. That's where I was born and raised. The Nashville Vols played inside of Sulphurdale Stadium, and I'm trying to get all of their cards for the team. There's 16 of them, but check out the backs on these things. I had never seen these. A friend of mine, again, on Instagram, made me aware of them, and when I saw them, I was like, man, I got to build that set. So these, as you can tell, were made in New Orleans. And these are the Southern Association minor league cards. They're also called green borders, but they're the T211 set. For those of you watching that may live in Montgomery, Alabama, or New Orleans, or Atlanta, a lot of those minor league towns in the pre-war era had cards in the set. So, here's another one. And this one is Bronchi. This one is Lynch. But it's really cool. They've got the old school N on their hat, on their sleeve. Some of them have Nashville across their chest, but you can see the small little glove on his hand. Really think these are cool, and can't wait to. I'm already getting into them. There's 16 cards in that team set, and I've got a few of them already. But I can't wait to try to keep grabbing those. I was able to grab this 1909 Sovereign. Rube Marquardt, hands at thighs, and he had some big old long arms, man, so that had to help him pitching. But it's got the beautiful sunset, and yeah, this one is wrinkled really bad, but I wanted to add this one. He's a really interesting guy in the pre-war era, and it's got the cool back on it, so I added it. So it's not all about grades in the pre-war. Sure, I'd rather have a SGC 5 than one that's all torn up looking, but at the end of the day, a card's a card. Also added this one. It's the 1909 E90-1 American Caramel Home Run Baker. I really love the image on this. He looks so young. Had a prolific career with the A's and later the Yankees. Also became a scout and did some great stuff once he was outside of baseball. But this one is just a beautiful card. It's in great shape. It's got a great back. Got a little caramel stains on the back. So just how you like it in the pre-war. But no surface issues or anything like that. It's just a great card. The next one, I needed this one to go with my, I know he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he should be. I wanted to get the Golden Era rookie cards of guys that did a lot in the major leagues. And I wanted this Roger Maris. I saw it 5.5 in an auction and nabbed it. So It's in great shape. It's just a beautiful card. So glad to add this one when he played with the Indians, and it's got great eye appeal on it. So happy to have that one. Now we're getting into the last couple, and these are some bangers. I've looked and looked. This scratch right here is on the slab. When I was cutting it out of the packaging, I got a little crazy with the razor knife and cut the slab. So now I got to get it re-slabbed. But it's not on the card. Didn't damage the card in it at all. But this is the obviously the 1955 Topps rookie card of Roberto Clemente. I had been searching high and low for this for months for one that was centered. I swear this is the hardest to find card in the hobby centered. It is impossible. So when I saw this one, I would have taken a 3. I would have taken a 4. But this was the first one that I found that I considered centered, and it was in a 6. It cost me a little more, but it's awesome. The registration on this one is sharp. A lot of time the registration is a little off. I'm just fired up to add this to my collection, and we'll hold this one dear and near. And finally, the last one. This is the one that I can't believe I have in my collection. It's the 1955 Jackie Robinson, and it is autographed, as you can see. And the autograph is indented in the card. You can kind of see it if you look at this ring light I use to light these cards up. But it's dented. He put a lot of pressure on it. It's a ballpoint pen, auto. And just the thoughts of him holding this in his hand is incredible to me. And the pop count on these signed cards from him are pretty low. And, you know, it makes me wonder who had this card signed, who met him, who stood in front of him with a pen. Was it a boy? Was it a girl? Was it a man? Was it a woman? Were they young? Were they old? I don't know. Was it at Ebbets Field? Was it, I put in my Instagram story, I got real creative. You know, was it a black kid who idolized him and went on the L train from South Chicago all the way to Wrigley Field, couldn't afford a ticket, stood outside, waited outside the locker room with a bunch of other people, and as he walked by, said, "Mr. Robinson." And Jackie turns around and realizes it's a young kid and smiles at him. And at that moment, he's looking at his hero, somebody his dad and his granddad continually talked about. And at that moment, Jackie signs this card for him, and he kept it near and dear to him and didn't let anything happen to it all those years. Is that who it was signed for? Or was it an aging Jackie? You've seen pictures and videos with him when he had the gray hair. He aged a lot from that hard time he went through. Is that the Jackie Robinson that signed this card? I don't know. But when I have an autographed card from a guy like him or Larry Doby, those things kind of hit me. I want to, you know, my imagination goes wild. And again, that's the cool thing about autographs. They touch the person on the card. And so Jackie Robinson will go down in American history as one of the most iconic men in that century for what he did for race relations, how brave he was, and also what a great baseball player he was. So I'm lucky to have this one. I feel very blessed. I'll keep it safe. And that's the end of the cards. I'll be right back, and we'll tie this up with a bow. Thank you. All right. There's a couple cards. Again, I told you they were some bangers. And the ones that were gifts are just so dear to my heart. They'll be in my collection forever. It's just so thoughtful. People think enough of you to do something like that. I can't say enough for it. That Jackie Robinson, to think about the fact that was in his hand at one point and somebody stood in front of him with a pen and had the courage to ask him for his autograph. It's just, to me, you see me in my collection, I'm really into autograph vintage, and to have him on a card is unbelievable to me. And it's something that, you know, I'm going to hold dear to me. There are cards in my collection that I would consider moving, even some of my big ones, because I know I can get those again in another auction sometime. But when you get something like that, it's not every day you see that. So I feel like, too, in the next 5 years, that's going to get, the prices on those are just continuing to go up, and that'll be out of range for me. So I'm glad I could get it while I could. So hope you'd enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.